Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Today is Tuesday, July 8th, and we got another surprise from the administration today that has to be taken into account by investors now. And we'll talk about that in a second. Markets are kind of waiting to see, are we going to get a tariff deal? Are we going to get a few deals? August 1st, yes, the reciprocal tariffs have been postponed, but August 1st is just around the corner, and today Trump mentioned that there was going to be no postponement of that date moving forward, and so investors are kind of in wait and see mode. It's very hard to really have high conviction in anything, considering how fluid the situation is and how moody the U.S. administration is. And this is really an environment, I think it's probably a trader's dream, because profits are to be taken and dips are to be bought. And so, because whatever the sentiment is right now, I think it's pretty clear that it's not going to last, whether positive or negative. It's not going to last for a long period of time, because someone in the administration is going to open their mouth and change everything. So looking at the VIX, that's what's on the screen right now. The volatility right now, as I said, wait and see mode. Volatility index is somewhat subdued. It's at year-to-date lows, basically. And we are in the summer when a lot of market participants take a break from heavy trading, and so volume tends to go down in the summer. But as I said, nothing really lasts in this market under this administration. Be prepared for spikes in volatility. The dollar index was flat today. As I mentioned on this live, it's had a pretty terrible year-to-date performance. That is, if you're long the dollar. But if you're short the dollar, you were very happy with its performance. And the Russell is slightly in the green, up 0.69%. Dow Jones is down 0.37%. The S&P, let's call that flat, and the NASDAQ, will call it flat too. No really major moves in a lot of the names that we talk about. CoreWeave was down 5% after its acquisition of Core Scientific. Silver, gold are both down. Gold more than silver, but not by much. Gold is down 1.15%. Bitcoin still in that stubborn range between 100 and 110. Today it's clocking in at 109, right around 109, and Solana is at 150. Doge is at 17 cents. So, surprise for all market investors, participants. What is the surprise today? Well, copper will have a 50% tariff. And so the price of copper, if you're invested in copper, congratulations. If you're invested in copper miners, copper derivative stocks, congratulations. Trump opened his mouth, and now the copper prices, long been a topic very seldom talked about, is now shooting up. And it's important to note here that market breadth basically, even though we're near all-time highs, market breadth has been basically the worst this century, or near the worst this century, I should say. We had similar narrowing of the market in 2023. And this basically refers to the number of stocks that are doing well. And I think it's more important than ever to understand investing and to understand how to pick the winners, because the winners are taking the most in this market. If you even if the market is reaching all-time highs, if you're not in the right names, you may miss it entirely and not experience it at all. So, very noteworthy. Now, with regards to market breadth being very narrow, it's important to note that in these cases, the market tends to be more brittle, and if there is a bull market, that tends to be a lot more fragile than if breadth were a lot wider. Now, considering where we are right now, I do expect market breadth to start to widen, and inshallah, this bull market to gain a bit more robustness. But for now, it remains rather fragile. And in terms of who is winning and who is doing the best, whether you look at the 1 month performance or the 3 month performance, technology is at the top. And I suspect that this is a secular trend that will continue for many years to come, and perhaps even become a deeper and more solidified trend as technology increasingly does amazing things that make all other considerations less relevant. What is going to be adding the most value to our lives, to humanity, is going to be technology. And there really is no close second. Now, bearishness with regards to the US dollar has reached basically the highest in 3 years. This is a good indicator for stocks and assets that are denominated in US dollar, since as the US dollar becomes weaker, these assets start to be worth more when priced in US dollars. That being said, I wouldn't be surprised to see a reversal here. It's been a pretty extended drop for the US dollar. So a reversal here wouldn't surprise. In terms of crypto and how people are feeling about it, we are back in neutral territory. We did experience some greed, although we didn't reach extreme greed in May and June, but July we are back in neutral territory, which means that there are likely better prices, more buying opportunities for those who are interested in that kind of thing. And in terms of what's doing good, it does appear that in the past month, NFTs and NFT related tokens have been doing quite well. So if you look at NFT applications, they performed the best in terms of sectors, up 24% in the past month. Store of value and Bitcoin are in second and third place. And then finally, I think this is the most important chart of today's live, which is global M2. And I was actually asked about that, I believe yesterday in the live. Bitcoin has lagged global M2, but the correlation is unmistakable. And you can see the price of Bitcoin in orange. Global M2 is in pink. And if we extend this correlation into the future, we can see that in the next few weeks, the price of Bitcoin should top 125,000, perhaps even reaching 135,000. So any day now, I think we should get a break in Bitcoin. That is assuming, of course, we don't get any new curveballs from the US administration, but the probability of that is precisely and exactly zero. So expect more curveballs, expect volatility. As I mentioned, this is a market where you take profits when you get them, and you buy dips because nothing really lasts. All right, so with that being said, do make sure to leave a like on the live if you enjoyed it. Become a PIF member if you haven't already, and we'll take some questions. Arsalan, can you please review Beam? Perhaps we'll take a look. Salamat Rashad, thanks for tuning in and moderating. Too many variables in the market, taco, letters to countries, debt. So I think that everything you mentioned is important in the near term, but over the long term, it's not really important. I think the chart that I have on the screen right now is what investors should continue to pay attention to. Eventually, prices are going to catch up with the liquidity levels in the market, regardless of short-term headlines. Suhail says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Kate and Lass, Japan unwinding will lead to more liquidity in markets, which will go to US stocks and BTC mostly. Plus, I'll add to that the US has to raise, I think, north of $200 billion in the next few weeks. So, and, given the big, beautiful bill being passed, the deficit spending, indebtedness on the rise, it does seem like in fiat terms, all of these assets should melt up in terms of their price. And so it's just a matter of time. I think if we stick with it, be patient, ride through the volatility, we are going higher. And if we're in the right assets, we're going a lot higher. And inshallah, we are in the right assets. As I mentioned, leave a like, become a PIF member if you aren't a member already. And until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.